Some people keep asking, why does Litecoin's value keep reaching all-time highs? Yet, it's interesting to note, Litecoin was the first alternative blockchain and the first to complement Bitcoin. Litecoin was the first to upgrade to segregated witness known as SegWit, and Litecoin was the first to successfully run a Lightning Network payment transaction. So, in a future of digital gold, digital silver, and atomic swaps, will everyone seek to hoard the good Bitcoin money using Bitcoin as a store of value? And will Litecoin become the Bitcoin-connected, decentralized payment standard of the future, which we all trust and use? Let's discuss. Hey everybody, I'm Gary Palmer Jr., you're you, and together, welcome to Minting Coins. So there's a lot happening in the news, as we all know and love, and a lot of times things get stuck in the bottom breaches of what's happening in the world. And there's still a lot of questions, and people still are wondering about things that are happening or things that have happened, with all these different questions in the back of their minds. And it's also really interesting to talk about what's not in the news, or maybe not the biggest, most important news, just to bring back perspective and to talk about the really interesting projects and how they're connected to the rest of the world. So I just wanted to take a moment to look at Litecoin and go over some of what we have heard and just put a little bit into perspective in terms of the big picture of what people in the industry are talking about and how Litecoin fits in a decentralized future where Bitcoin is poised to, perhaps crack the moon in half. So with that being said, let's pop it into the market, take a quick peek around, look into the news, and let's discuss. All right, so starting over here at coinmarketcap.com, where we have a current market capitalization of $150 billion and 24-hour volume of $7 billion. Our Bitcoin dominance is 47%, between that 45 and 50% mark. And so in here we have Bitcoin at $70 billion. And number 2 in the list, we have Litecoin, or not number 2, number 5 in the list, we have Litecoin, $3.6 billion. It's really a phenomenal amount of money just to think where Litecoin was 6 months ago or even 12 months ago, and just to recognize that it's has come a very, very long way. But I suppose that we can say the same thing for each of these that have been around for a long time, that we've been familiar with for years, for those of us that have been paying attention that long, like Ethereum and Dash, before Dash was Dash, and Litecoin. And Litecoin is down today, and in terms of Bitcoin, it's also down. We have down 8%. Litecoin, where are we? $68, and it was north of this recently. So if you aren't already aware to the fact that there's going to be 21 million Bitcoins ever minted, Litecoin is 4 times that exactly. And so Litecoin is never going to be more than 84 million. So if you own 21 Bitcoins, then you would own 1/millionth of all the Bitcoins that will ever exist, ever. And then to the same note, if you owned 84 Bitcoins, then you would own 1/millionth of all the Litecoins that will ever exist, right? If you own 84 of these. And what's interesting is that, 84 Litecoins is about 1 point something Bitcoins. Not sure on the exact math for today. But realizing how connected Litecoin is to Bitcoin, with the roadmaps finally materializing, it's really interesting to think about how this idea that the value of Litecoin could just increase so much more because of how it's connected to Bitcoin, and because of Bitcoin's ability to have such a high network effect in the world, for Bitcoin to be so desired, so known, to have so much infrastructure, to have so many companies creating, like a platform, having so many people invested in the companies and the tokens and the blockchains. Bitcoin is just the #1 coin in the world right now, even with all of the cryptocurrencies and governments and other companies that have tried to overtake that. So turning into the news and starting to take some deeper talks about Litecoin. So we had this article how long ago? So this was a recent article from CoinDesk talking about Litecoin's price being near all-time highs, and wondering if the Litecoin price can reach that $100 market cap. And it talks a little bit about Litecoin and what's been happening recently in the market, but in a couple high levels of what's going on with Litecoin. Litecoin, best known as the silver to Bitcoin's gold. If Bitcoin is the digital gold of the internet, then Litecoin would be the silver of that. Gold is much more expensive than silver. Gold is also much more valuable than silver. And the Litecoin-LTC creator Charlie Lee was recently saying that Litecoin could provide a niche where it would be used more for a payment coin, whereas Bitcoin would be more used for storing. And we see a lot of people, a lot of companies, a lot of corporations wanting to hoard the good money, wanting to hoard the Bitcoin. And we also recognize that right now, at least, Bitcoin has some high transaction fees. Well, with all the companies mining Bitcoin, with all of the different parties and players wanting to Bitcoin, Bitcoin could end up being the reserve currency that everyone knows, that everyone trusts as the single reserve currency between nations and corporations across borders. It's going to make having a Bitcoin very, very difficult. It's going to make the price break of Bitcoin very, very high. And then people are going to want to maybe transact with a different coin, but a different coin which has this interoperability to interconnect and interplay seamlessly with the most desired, which is Bitcoin in this conversation. So Litecoin can do a couple different things. So Litecoin, or a couple different things have happened to set up Litecoin in this position. So the first thing that's happened is that Litecoin was the first major cryptocurrency to activate the segregated witness code upgrade, known as SegWit, on May 10th. And the SegWit code that Litecoin had activated opened the doors for Litecoin to develop, to implement, to use the Lightning Network on top of Litecoin, which is going to allow for faster, cheaper, potentially more secure, let's hope, payment channels, payment networks, payment nodes for people to use. Well, when Bitcoin activated SegWit, then after Litecoin, that gave Bitcoin the opportunity to also have Lightning Network, right? When SegWit is on both Litecoin and Bitcoin, and Lightning Network then is on both Litecoin and Bitcoin, they're going to have this ability to seamlessly play with each other, to interact with each other, and it creates this dynamic where you have roads and highways of payment channels, and anyone is going to be able to ask for a payment in Bitcoin, and then anyone else will be able to make that payment in Litecoin. Well, keeping the Bitcoin safe in case if there's an emergency, or keeping that Bitcoin safe because that's ultimately the currency that you're going to want to buy a house or buy a car or put away for your child's education or your future or your retirement. And this creates the infrastructure for that to happen. And so speaking of the infrastructure, on September 1st, just a few days ago, a week ago now, the Litecoin Foundation tweeted that the first Lightning Network-based Litecoin transaction was successful with Litecoin. And so this continues Litecoin on this path of being able to create this world, this dynamic, this foundation where Bitcoin and Litecoin are completely connected to each other, just in a lot of ways how gold and silver were completely connected to each other in the world of commerce, for the past few hundred years. So then this gets us into the idea of atomic swaps and instantly being able to interchange the Bitcoin for the Litecoin, the whole interoperability, and the fact that this is becoming more feasible is just creating the reality that Litecoin is becoming more and more valuable. To have these cross-chain atomic swaps is a lot more convenient, and even though the technology is at the very, very early stages, the speculators are hoping that this actually happens. The developers are actually working on making this happen, and from my understanding, this is something that the Bitcoin and Litecoin community all wants, to create this ecosystem that's really based around the most decentralized of blockchain technologies, the oldest of blockchain technologies, and some of the most decentralized and supported in the community. Cool. So taking a quick peek over at SegWit.org and taking a peek at the vision for SegWit and Lightning networks on both Litecoin and Bitcoin by the founder and creator of Litecoin himself, Charlie Lee. Charlie Lee just is really happy about SegWit because the main fix was the transaction malleability, and then also allowing the Lightning networks to be built on top of Litecoin, in addition to many other features that the SegWit has brought. And so he goes on to talk about how the Lightning network is going to be building these bridges and these highways, and a side benefit of these bridges is that they're going to be connecting the bridges and the highways to connect to each other, like we were talking about, and that people are going to be able to pay LTC and exchange them instantly through a Lightning Network exchange node and send BTC to the merchant. So the exchange node will send a BTC to the merchant, is how this will work essentially. And so what I don't think people are recognizing in terms of the value of the Litecoin and Bitcoin is that people will be able to interoperably transfer many, many different currencies between each other. But what this creates between Bitcoin and Litecoin is essentially a decentralized shapeshift. And this decentralized shapeshift is going to allow more commerce, more transactions, more borderless, censor-free, ability for anyone to send any amount of money or any message to anybody else is going to be building and built on and with and for turning Bitcoin and Litecoin into these decentralized exchanges, this decentralized version of shapeshift. And then could be even, the article goes on to say that there could be even millions of other cool things and cool applications that could be built with Bitcoin and Litecoin because of the connectings of SegWit and what SegWit and Lightning Network will open up. Charlie Lee says we haven't even scratched the surface of the potential. Cool. And then we have this quick article. We're not going to go over this, but someone had gone through this experiment simulating a decentralized Lightning network with 10 million users, and just going through this thought process. And speaking of the roads and the highways, we have sort of this graphic to represent that with the thinking and the connected network with 100 nodes and many, many paths. So if you're really interested, this link will be in the notes below, talking about the feasibility of this actually being true, of these payments in the Lightning Network and SegWit between Bitcoin and Litecoin to be fast and secure to the levels that people are really hoping for to compete with things like Visa and whatnot. Okay. Last but not least, just wanted to throw this into the mix and say I just saw this today, that Bitcoin Cash, but also Ethereum Classic, and for this video Litecoin, are going to be added to the Bitcoin IRA. So the Bitcoin IRA's self-directed cryptocurrency retirement accounts are secured with BitGo multi-signature wallets. And so this is going to allow people to access more cryptocurrency via the IRAs. It's going to swoop up more of the cryptocurrency available as there's more demand for these new crypto financial vehicles. Now, I would think it's better for people just to buy and hold their own cryptocurrency and have access to their own keys. But maybe in the case where you have to have an IRA through work and you can't, take that money and shift it directly into Bitcoin, maybe this would serve a purpose and maybe this would make sense for those people. But as far as this Bitcoin IRA, they're going to be also including Litecoin into the mix. And so I guess the one detail that we'll add about this is that this Bitcoin IRA company is headed by Roger Ver. And so Roger, of course, wants to add Bitcoin Cash, previously known as the Bitcoin Jesus, early investor into Bitcoin, really supports Bitcoin a lot. And so Roger Ver says that this is a beautiful movement for the adoption of Bitcoin Cash. But Roger is a big supporter of Bitcoin Cash, and so this is artificially creating a demand for Bitcoin Cash, since this is only one example for Bitcoin Cash, and it's coming from the main advocate of Bitcoin Cash, and so this is going to create, in some ways, artificial demand because it's being forced inside these investment vehicles by someone who is a big supporter. And so until you get other investment vehicles doing the same thing who aren't, closely associated with the financial interest of the Bitcoin Cash success, then the Bitcoin Cash aspect of this is hard to take seriously. But it is also bringing in Litecoin. It is also bringing in Ethereum Classic, and there are a total, I believe, of 6 different cryptocurrencies in here now. Cool. So with that being said, that's a lot to do about Litecoin. There's a lot to do with the future of Litecoin in terms of the development and really providing breathing room onto Bitcoin. We talked about this before with the hard limit of Bitcoin. There never being more than 21 million Bitcoins, currently only about 16.5 million Bitcoins. While Litecoin doesn't add to the number of Bitcoins themselves, Litecoin does add to the volume of currency that's available to be exchanged with different people, and it does add more currency overall, even though that decimal can be moved around, and it does create more opportunity, more energy, more processing of payments to reach more people. And so it just adds on to the overall amount of money that can be sent, even though there's a clear distinction between what a Bitcoin is and what a Litecoin is. And so it's sort of reasonable to understand how if someone's going to want to make, purchase coffee, they're going to possibly want to use Litecoin, because even if all things being equaled between Bitcoin and Litecoin, Litecoin is a lighter coin than a bit of Bitcoin. And so it would make sense that people would want to make these smaller transactions, maybe pay their bills perhaps with Litecoin, or maybe the microtransactions of watching YouTube videos, or the microtransactions of using a website, maybe using Litecoin, and then really hoarding that Bitcoin, because even as time goes on, and even after Bitcoin moons to $100,000 or $1 million, people will, trust me, they will still be speculating. No one said it yet, right? Because no one wants to be that crazy. But after Bitcoin hits, $1 million a coin, people will be speculating about a $10 million Bitcoin. They will be speculating about the $100 million Bitcoin. They will be speculating about $1 billion Bitcoin. All right, so I suppose you heard it here first, $1 billion Bitcoin. And where would that leave Litecoin in that future economy 100 years or 1,000 years into the future, right? Well, that's just all fun and games. Bringing it back into today, Litecoin is about $62, and if Bitcoin was the moon, could we see Litecoin 10x to $600? And more importantly, what would that mean in terms of the Litecoin's price in relationship in terms of Bitcoin, right? So we always got to keep that in mind. So with that being said, I would love to know what you think. Tap that like button, follow us on SteemIt, upvote us over there, be part of the community. Really excited to be bringing you this news, and you know, please share, you know, what you think, because I want this community to exist together. I get a lot of great ideas from everyone in the community, and sticking together is what it's all about. Supporting each other is what it's all about. And I'm glad that together we're minting coins.